Welcome to Demand Gen Confidential, the marketing podcast where we'll be talking with some of the most progressive marketers out there, diving deep into marketing tactics to help you become a better marketer. Let's jump into today's episode. The video thing is big, and I saw a video from Rand Fishkin, and he was talking about where searches are happening right now. It's top of mind for me. And apparently, and hopefully I don't get this wrong, but apparently YouTube's searching is outpacing all of the even AI engines. So like regular Google search is flat, and YouTube is where people are starting a lot of searches, which I find super interesting because I think that the name of the game right now on video is this format, creating long form podcast videos however you can, and then cutting it up into shorts. Because ultimately, you got to get to the shorts version, I think.
Yeah, that's an interesting data point. I would love to see that. But it makes sense, right? When I talk to people, it's like they want to get the instant gratification, find their answer from TikTok in 10 seconds. And it's the whole thing of sometimes you have videos just more, I don't know, entertaining versus typing it into ChatGPT and asking a question. Like sometimes you get the answer you want on YouTube. I was like trying to figure out something with my car. And yeah, it was much easier to like see it visually versus ChatGPT explaining to me where this thing is through text. So yeah, there's certain places where it makes sense. And I think it's interesting too, because now there are like, I think Grok has it and others do too, where you can just like, you can augment it. Like Google has it too, where you can just show it what you're doing and be like, hey, prompt something from there. But most people aren't going to do that for like multiple years, right? Like maybe, but it takes time to train those new behaviors.
Yeah, exactly. But I'll link that video in the show notes from Rand Fishkin. People can go take a look at it. I think it'll be a lot of testing, but it almost feels like full circle for me because I remember having this video conversation with you last year, like midsummer. And yeah, I think it was midsummer. So it's like almost a little over a year ago. And talking about how we needed to get more into video and doing more video. And I felt like that conversation was actually late and missing the ball, but it's like even bigger now. I think that this whole video stuff sits in our hypothesis just to create simple, easy videos and a lot of it. And hitting on the HR tech interviewing, just walking around the booths. And so now here we are, full circle, doing a legitimate episode of a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Instead of interviewing other people, now it's you're interviewing me, whatever you want to call it. And definitely a full circle moment. And looks like video has whatever become embedded into both of our lives in different ways.
Yeah, the thing that I'm trying to do now, I got to start getting like the scripting together of just kind of like the product demo videos and figuring out where the storylines are of that for creating a video product video section. Because I think that's definitely a must have now, but you don't really want it to be, I think, like a 20-minute like demo you give in a sales call. You want it to be a little more interactive.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like it just needs to be simple. Once again, just going back to what you're competing with when it comes to video is always some really highly produced TikTok. And it always has to deliver that same instant gratification, like fast. So I think when it comes to video, like especially product demos, like how quickly and can you not only hook them and people talk about that, whatever reverse story arc and all of that. Those are all just like basics now, but it's like
Yeah.
really hook them to a relatable pain and then just start getting into the story. I was just reading about this, like this idea of permissionless demo. Usually like you get outbound emails and it's, hey, can I show you a demo of my software? It's forget that. Instead, just show the demo and like right away, just get to the value. So instead of even, I guess, a more general video about here's what my product could do, it's here's what my product will do specifically for your industry, for your business, for your use case. And I think we're going to see that a lot more too now with AI, right? It's like it's not even going to be good enough to be like, here's my general product video. It's going to be, here's a product demo video for your business. and how you could incorporate this tomorrow. Um, but yeah, that's a different tangent. Something I got excited about.
But it's super relevant, like to marketing, to demand gen, whatever it is. And I, so I'm a big fan of Intercom, and I always wanted to replicate their videos library or demos library. And years ago, when I was going into their product and looking at it, the I don't think it was fully built out. Like they were probably still testing it and doing it, but their demo was really good. It was like 6 or 7 minutes. But then you can have all these different use case demos within that of, to your point, of for a specific industry, for a specific job to be done or use case, just a quick 2 minute demo of doing that specific thing in the platform.
Yeah. Yeah. And attention spans are low. So it's like getting to that point faster and making it easily discoverable. Yeah. People will listen to the long form stuff, but first you got to hook them, right? You have to give them a
Yeah.
reason to want to do that in the first place. And that's what's funny. When we started, I think like, it's not like that we were both like, oh, finally, video's a thing. We have to do it. It was more so the have to do it part, right? It's hey, we need to get into the game. It's going to suck at first. And it might not be good even, but like, instead of just being like, here's all these awesome, cool videos, let's try to replicate the greats. It was like, let's just pick up a phone and start shooting and see where it goes. And after hearing that advice and then after doing it, it just looking at it from the other side is it's so true. You just have to get started. And the first 10 are going to look nasty, and like sooner than later, you'll get better and better at it. It's not like I've cracked the code yet either, but yeah, I think I feel comfortable creating more video, and there's so many channels you can get it in, including this podcast, but it's just being creative and continuing to practice.
Yeah. So that's a good segue to our first main point for today, talking about LinkedIn, because that was a primary driver for, at least for me, for creating video, was having stuff for LinkedIn and social. But I want to do a quick intro before we get into that. I'm here with Sid, a product marketing extraordinaire running his own podcast, Product Marketing with Beekeeper, got his own new app, all sorts of stuff. So he's going to help us talk about the product side, helping us drive demand. Sid, is there anything else that you would like the audience to know about you?
There's too many ands. I'm having identity crisis. Like you could add that I'm also a DJ. You can add that I also help run a startup grind Chicago chapter. So part of that community. But at the end of the day, love early stage startups, love marketing, love product. Yeah, simple as that.
Good, good. Yeah. So let's continue our conversation about video and getting video on LinkedIn. And one of the things I wanted to ask you, because it's been fun to watch you build LinkedIn. And the only reason I say watch is because we work together and then and stayed in touch. But what are like, how should marketers think about LinkedIn itself being a traffic driver or a business driver or an education driver, and use it?
Yeah. I think the first thing I was going to say is, oh, we talk personal or company. But now that I think about it, those are also starting to blend. I think if you apply it from a personal brand standpoint, it's honestly where we're at today, especially with where AI is at. It's just about being authentic. Right? It's like just being yourself and being vulnerable, putting yourself out there. Plus, of course, delivering some sort of value. So to me, like you take the edutainment, right, kind of framework, and it's now I don't know what we're going to call it, but it's like edutainment plus vulnerability so that it's something unique and something that has a spin to you. So if you combine those two together, I think is like the new emerging category, right? It has to be entertaining, has to be educating, and then it also has to be vulnerable so that there's like a human condition element involved. And I think all those three together give you what is the personal brand. And what I've seen is that's what keeps me top of mind, right? I've literally had people say 2 months down the line, hey, I remember you like posted something about something. Would love to pick your brain on this, or like the craziest stuff where I was like, whoa, I didn't even realize my content reached that far. But of course, the algorithms are great in that sense. And honestly, my journey was like really strange. Like I think I had started a little bit when I saw the kind of hype cycle going up. It was like, all right, I'm going to start posting. And then after a year, I stopped for probably another year, just like the imposter syndrome and all this other stuff. I was like, I don't want to do it. And then I think about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I just like finally got back into it. Told myself I'm like gonna eat the frog, and I started posting semi-daily, or daily or weekly. And it's just been so good for me because it started building community. And I had started from this place of, oh, I need to apply the marketing framework and create like content pillars. And every day I need to post something in here and all that. I got very fancy with it. Now it's like a Notion board that has, here's my ideas, here's my backlog, here's what's like close to being ready to publish, and then here's where I'm ready to hit send. And that's been really good for me because now it's more stream of consciousness. It's more raw. It's more, this is what I want to talk about. These are the people I want to talk to. It's more social. And I think that's where I was going wrong before. And I still see a lot of people going wrong, where it's like you're trying to follow some crazy formula because you see like the greats doing that. And maybe there's some truths to that. But at least for me, it just has to be authentic and to be simple. And I think that's like what resonates with people at the end of the day. Right? And maybe once you crack the code, when you have, I'm not anywhere near 10, 20, 30, 50,000 followers, then you really have to think strategically about, hey, this is where brand's going. This is where I have to continue to build. But in the meantime, like we were just talking about with paid audience sample size, it's the same thing. You need a big enough sample size to really feel the need to get that level of granular. Until then, I suggest people build the muscle of putting your thoughts out there and seeing how the world reacts. You start to learn from that itself.
Yeah, and to be honest, the building the muscle to put your thoughts out there is probably one of the hardest pieces of the whole thing, because you have to dedicate quite a bit of time to writing and thinking and all of that. And it's not the easiest part of it. It's like being a writer is really what it is.
Yeah, it's a new age of writing, right? Like I remember when Medium became a thing, I had a half a year stint. I think I still get 20 cent commissions that come in residually, which is hilarious. But yeah, like when I was writing on Medium, it was a semi long form, right? Writing 1,000 page or 1,000 word blogs and stuff. And now just cut those in four, right? And you have to get to the point quickly. And I think that makes it interesting as well, because now you get the chance to, you don't have to go too deep. You can let the reader do some of the filling in the blanks. But that's how people read these days. Even when they plug into a ChatGPT prompt, maybe I'm getting different outputs than everyone else, but it's short and it needs to be like concise and like, I don't know, take a perspective or point of view pretty quickly. But it also doesn't need to be like super hard and thought through. I think of course, there's a range of things. Sometimes you want to be very tactical and thorough, but sometimes it's just like putting your thoughts on paper and letting them fly.
Yeah, like what kind of, so from the time you started to now, how many like impressions do you get? What kind of growth have you seen? Is it up and down, or is it pretty much consistent growth?
Man, you're putting me on the spot. To be honest, I don't think I've looked at
Ballpark.
my analytics for, yeah, I don't even think I've looked at my analytics for 3 to 6 months.
Oh,
Sometimes you'll
I
see
know.
the follower count. But to me, and actually, and as you say it, it's almost kind of like the marketing funnel. Like I'm looking at how many people am I engaging with? Are they inviting me on their podcast? So I just scored one here. Is it people I want to talk to? Is it people that, are in the circle that I want to be in? Now that I'm building something in my own app, like I actually have a driver I want people to go to. So it's, are people joining my wait list? Those are the kind of questions I'm asking myself, right? It's instead of looking at impressions and some of those leading indicators that I probably should be looking at, I'm only looking at the lagging indicators, just because to me, I'm trying to run LinkedIn like on autopilot and almost like a social platform for myself right now. I
Yeah.
think to your point, it'll continue. Like now that I'm building something and I have a clear CTA I want to drive people towards, this wait list for this app I'm building, now it's like it's changed a little, right? It's, hey, now I do want to be a little more strategic, use LinkedIn as a channel to do all this type of stuff. But right now where I'm at is, it's almost, there's two pieces to this. One is inbound. I want to talk about and have a stage to talk about the things that are important to me that I'm doing.
Mhm.
So startup grind community, what I'm doing at work, what I'm doing on the side, and just fun thoughts. And interestingly enough, it's this weird circular thing where that's what I want to talk about. And those give me good topics to discuss. Here's what I learned at work this week. Here's the next community event I'm doing. Here's the recap of the community event I'm doing and what I learned from it. So like that gives me the posting stuff. it also is like going into, this is what I want to generate more people that are in that community, more people to sign up for those things I'm talking about. Now that's why it's plug and play. It's like, these are the 3 or 4 things I'm doing. And it's just like this amazingly vicious cycle that keeps giving back to me. It's like, all right, I put more stuff about product marketing out there, more people follow it. And then it also as I do more product marketing, it gives me more ideas to talk about. And it's like, just becomes the best feedback mechanism that I know, and a great place to build connections. Yeah. I'm no longer thinking of it as like a primary channel, even though it very much is. And I'm super bullish on that. Like for myself, I'm approaching it this way.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think the point about looking at lagging indicators is a good one because I think a lot of marketing has moved that way. Like it's demo requests off the website, but kind of like where I'm at now, even with current gig, is like the leading indicators aren't that high yet to have a big pool to do the lagging indicator. So it's almost once you get a little bit of a baseline at the top, then it's like it all becomes vanity because you've got enough to optimize or start to see coming down the funnel. So it's almost just stages, I think, of whatever it is that you're looking at.
Yeah. Yeah. In the meantime, you're just building foundations. That's the way I see it. Because yeah, once I hit 5, 10,000 followers and have, like I said, a very clear offer, right? You have Alex Ramosi who talks about this. You need a really good offer. And then you can use LinkedIn as this amazing funnel. But until you have that amazing converting lead magnet or whatever it is, it's till then you're just kind of, you're swimming. Okay? You're swimming. And then one day you find what you need and it becomes go time. But yeah, until then, it's like you're just putting yourself out there and reaching an amazing like audience that would be very hard to reach without having this channel. But if you take everything I said and just replace me with a brand and a company brand, it also still applies, right? Like you learn about these people through your user research, through the product you built, you host these events, you visit these events, and that's where the content comes from. That's where you get the followers. And that's where it creates that cycle. And that includes video content, of course, when you do interviews and podcasts. So yeah, I think the same rules apply. And then it's just waiting for that next offer, that next launch. And it's like, once that time comes, you've harvested, you've farmed, and now it's time to hunt or have a great offer.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And taking a lot, like one of the other things that I took from that is just building the muscle of the content creation part. And a lot of that comes from like exactly what you just said, the being at events, talking to people, and then you start to fill the content to where it's like you never are at a shortage of things to say. And I think like for me, if I'm taking what you're telling me as my education for improvement here, which is why I wanted to talk about this with you, it's like one of the reasons for the podcast. Like it's one of the reasons for webinars that I like to do them. It's a vehicle for gathering content. Like I think that's helping that spin wheel a little bit. But we kicked it off. I actually don't know if made it in the recording, but video platforms and podcast platforms. And I know because you're in product marketing and you think about pitching software, you have very strong opinions about how people should be selecting tools and particularly marketing. And I think now a lot of people are really obsessed about tools because there's a lot of AI stuff that does a lot of cool things. So it's thinking tool first sometimes. But what is your opinion about selecting tools? Let's start with Sid's hot take about
Yeah.
selecting tools.
Yeah. To me, it's simple. I wouldn't even say it's a hot take, but it's people, process, then technology. And I think we've gotten to a place where it's literally always the opposite, right? Like we salivate over the next round of funding and like what SaaS or what AI tool is like the new and trendy thing. But if you don't nail the people part, if you're talking about a bigger organization, and then I think even potentially more importantly, the process part. So like people, I guess, is a given, especially if you're at a solo founder or a small team, right? You need the people. But then it's like really about the process. And I would say even like the philosophy, to put in another P word, because it's like, for example, with outbound these days, you have millions of tools at your disposal, Clay, whatever else you want. It's a whole category of go-to-market engineers. Great. You can send a million emails to a million people that might be your ICP fit. But have you nailed down, is this the right ICP? Is this the right message to be sending? Is this the right sequence at the right time? Is the pitch right? Have you nailed down that process that even once someone replies to that email, you have a good meeting link book and like a good process to take someone from here to there? That's just a great example of how we have all these tools that might sit on that layer and that process, but no one has even nailed the process down. It's just, yeah, I think Clay's going to fix all my problems. Or if I buy HubSpot or if I buy this new AI tool, like everything will just go away. That's just not the case. I talk about this with employee advocacy a lot too. And I think it's a great example. One of the companies I worked at, Chili Piper, early stage, I got to literally see the best employee advocacy playbook, I still think, in SaaS get built in front of my eyes. And it required nothing. It had Slack and a Google Doc. And it was like way more actually about the people part. There's a cultural element to this. The founders had this huge on bringing in people who wanted to build their personal brand and were open-minded enough to participate. So that was step one. I'd argue like the hardest part. Like if you try to get a group of 100 people to post on LinkedIn, like there has to be the cultural element that we're open-minded, we're down to try this. There's like a cult mentality. Step one. Step two is the process. They made it so easy. They gave you like 10, the community and social team there, they gave you 10 templated posts. They said, hey, send us your link after you post so the rest of the people can amplify it. Of course, that's like a great way to, everyone gets likes, everyone gets amplified. You're all like creating this unified message together on the same day and launching stuff. And I'm not talking about during launches only. This was every single, like, insane. Now you have all these amazing tools, Sprout Social, all this stuff, but do you really need them? Like they'll give you templated posts. They'll give you all these fun scheduling opportunities, really cool features. Don't get me wrong. It's a cool tool. But until you've nailed down this process and gotten people to habitually go in and want to go post, want to go share, have you made it fun? All of those, and have you even shared the basic kind of posting practices? Hey, start with the story, start with making it fun versus something really dry and corporate and archaic. You're going to lose, right? You just spent X amount of dollars on a tool, but there's no process, there's no people mentality, there's no culture shift to make this work for you. So I just think we talk so much about tools, but we don't talk about like how to build the process, the program around the tools. And like, ironically enough, I think with the best, when you flip this on its head and talk about go to market and like companies when they're building something, it's the same thing. The best companies, the best technology companies in SaaS, they're not just building the tool, they're also building the program. So Clay is actually a good example, right? They have all these playbooks, they have this whole wraparound service so that you're not just going into Clay and like all of a sudden messing around. You already have a program in place, templates in place. Same goes for Salesforce with Trailhead, right? These are all built up so that you're not just using the tool and like adapting their philosophy. You're actually able to come to it with some sort of, what's the word I use? Like the meshing, the infrastructure, yeah, like what you actually need to make it work. If not, you have an engine, but you don't have the car and the chases. So that's how I think of it. Like, especially now, right? There's so many categories, 6sense and all these types of tools. Like you hear it from everyone, right? Did I really need to buy all that intent data? Did I really need to purchase all of these different tools to create this enormously complicated tech stack? That's also why that conversation happens. Can we just do this all with ChatGPT or AI? Because yeah, once again, you can. The technologies existed, but it's about the process first. Once you nail that down, the rest gets easier. That's my rant.
Yeah, there's a lot in there I want to pick up on. Intent data is an extremely hot topic for me, but I'm not going to go down that road. But the Clay one, Clay is hilarious. I have used Clay. Do you use Clay at all? Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say I went on this rant, and there should be like a disclaimer that I don't know all these tools, but like I know the fundamentals. And Clay, I actually do know somewhat well. Yeah.
I like that you get them on LinkedIn regularly and it goes to their promotion strategy. I think it's like, what do Clay experts know about Clay or whatever? And like, they have no idea what Clay does. And to be honest, I don't really get it either. I did use it and it was pretty cool because I'm going to do a video about it. I used agent.ai, which is HubSpot's agent builder, plus Clay to create a job post scraper to go find out what companies I wanted to work for if they had open jobs in the specific thing. And that's ultimately how I found my current gig. And I thought it was real neat. because they can throw webhooks right out of the spreadsheet, which is essentially what I think of Clay as, like a fancy spreadsheet that allows you to throw webhooks and then you basically run agents out of spreadsheets and things like that. But I don't know if that's actually how they would classify it or how anybody else classifies it. But
Yeah,
it's
that's how I use it.
yeah, but it's also spawned this whole like GTM engineering piece, which there's a guy I follow on LinkedIn. He had a rant about GTM engineering because there's nothing about engineering in it. Like nobody in GTM engineering is just RevOps or Sales Ops with a new brand. Sales Ops rebranded themselves to RevOps, and now they, for some reason, salespeople and Sales Ops has co-opted GTM, which to me is Google Tag Manager, not go to market. Hadn't been around long enough. But then it's not like an engineering background in GTM engineering is also an interesting thing because they're not engineers that have gone to like engineering. So like it's this co-opting of names that keeps going. So that's another thing that I find interesting. And I don't understand how people way better branders than I am. I've been able to get all these things. It's what I find.
Yeah,
But
it's true.
to your point though, it is about process first, and you can do a lot of this stuff outside of any fancy tool. And so Clay out of the box, if you pay for it, will do what I built the agent.ai. They will go find companies that have job openings. I think a lot of times it's for sales teams to see what people are hiring for, not necessarily for job seekers, because I think job seekers don't want to pay for a tool. But if the process and the reason you're doing it is to find that, you can go build it for free in other things as well. And so to your point of your chiller piper example for employee advocacy, which is a really great one because you had a culture of posters going and all you needed then was a tool to make it more efficient, to fit into what you were already doing. HubSpot was famous for, and I'm a huge HubSpot fan, they hired everybody that got hired in had to write a blog post during their onboarding because that was like how they started was writing blog posts. And so they were really building that into the culture. And Gong was another employee advocacy company. I always saw the Gong people early on posting on LinkedIn. I think they were a big employee advocacy company as well.
Interesting. I actually I didn't see them pop up much. Huh.
Maybe
Too
they
busy
weren't, and
drinking.
I just followed a couple Gong people and thought that's what they were doing. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't talk to anybody at Gong. Yeah, the finding the process first. Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to get at was like, I don't know if I worded it properly, but if you flip it on its head when you're building product, that's also the first place to go. Where are people already habitually doing something that you can augment with technology? But when you do it inversely, when you try to build a solution before there's a problem, usually you get into trouble, right? Then you have to find the specific use case or problem to solve. So I think as I say this, like there's also, if you just flip it on its head, even when you're building stuff, it's like a tricky path to go on. Like even what I'm working on, which is a product for South Asian families and friends to get to know each other better.
Mhm.
I realized like part of it was just, it's an idea and it's like a pain for sure that I can say that I've seen and experienced, but I still need to attach it to an existing behavior before I can decide that, hey, I should go do this somewhere else. So like before I was like, hey, I'll create a web app and like, I'll test this out. And I was like, all right, so now I'm asking people to do something they're not used to doing. And already instead, I was like, oh, maybe I should just sit on where they already are, which is WhatsApp and text messages and email. Like you have to go sit on top of stuff that already exists as a workflow before you just use technology to augment it. Yes, it's really helpful to know what's possible with the technology to even reverse engineer and get to your workflow. But like it starts with the workflow. It starts with like the process before you can actually just decide to wave the wand, use tech to your advantage.
Yeah, but that's one of the hardest parts because especially with AI stuff right now, like there's so much you can build. Like I put in Lovable, I built the front end of the maintenance app with just a few prompts in 20 minutes. And I was like, that's
Yeah.
perfect. then I was like, actually build it. Like what process are going to get into the phones and doing people in a factory and like all of that is super tricky. So then you have to think hard about what's the current situation and why they're doing what they're doing.
Yep. That's what I'm excited about. It's like the, whatever they call it, the democratization of code. So if you're an idea person, it's a great time to be alive. However, being an idea person is also not enough. You have to tie that down to the reality of a workflow. And that's something I'm still learning. I'm no expert in, but it just makes sense, right? Like when you tie to something people are already doing, you're fighting you're whatever, you're going downhill versus fighting an uphill battle of, hey, I'm going to get you to try this completely new thing in the 24 hours you already don't have. Humans are creatures of habit for real, right? So it's like anytime you can tie to an existing behavior, that's like step one. Yeah.
And like the building with AI stuff, I love it. Like I built a fantasy, like I told you, I built the job thing using AI. I've built a fantasy football general manager for myself. I'm probably gonna have to cut this because I don't want my league to know. But out of AI, like I got it to help me format all of this, and it's really cool. But it still takes a really long time, like to do it right and like to get it. Like it allows people who might not be able to code do stuff, but it's still a really long time. I find. I don't know if you
Yeah,
find the
no,
same thing.
100%. Yeah, yeah. And you have to go through a lot of learning curves. Like for me, it was like connecting the back end and the database. Like you can use Lovable and Supabase to do some of that, the authentication, all these other things. But yeah, I was going down rabbit holes that like I never really explored. But that's what's so exciting, right? Like you can now start to go down these and you don't need to be a coder. You don't have to have a software engineering background. What's like tough for me sometimes is like the impatience I have. If I have to start all over, I'm like, oh, this sucks. I'm going to lose all the progress I made for the last 2 hours of prompting. And then you just have to remind yourself that like this used to take so much money and so much manpower that like it would be impossible to do what you just did. And people would, instead of having these forks of, hey, I just spent a week and now I can restart it. It was like, I just spent a month and so much frustration and I had to start over. So like, yeah, prototyping has never been easier. And it's like such an exciting place to be, but it's not easy. It's not as easy as people like say it is. Sure, you can design the front end with a few prompts, but to like really make it work, it needs to be more than that. And who knows, even that could get easier in the future with, there's already Lovable just released their like agent model and it's just invisible. It's already inside of the tool. And yeah, it's gotten better. But once again, you still need to know how to think like a coder and be like, all right, this is the process. This is the requirements. These are the things that I think will solve a problem for someone because I've talked to a lot of people. I've done the research. I've obsessed over the specific workflow in a maintenance facility. Like you need to have that knowledge. If not,
Yeah.
you're just, once again, you're building like a fun little game for yourself versus something that's going to solve an actual problem.
Yeah, and that's a good point. So I wasn't much of a Salesforce like workflow builder, but I built workflows and all sorts of other stuff. And so the thinking and building like a coder and an engineer, like I had the knowledge of being able to do it. So to learn Salesforce's format, I use ChatGPT and like in a week I was a Salesforce administrator. But there is like some kind of baseline of being able to do it that AI isn't going to replace, or maybe it will, because ChatGPT, like if you prompt enough, will teach you how map is supposed to be built piece by piece in engineering if you go through that round. But in this realm, like I know you're building an app, but as a marketer, how should we be thinking about using AI not to be like, I don't really care so much about being more efficient or cranking out more AI content, but like, how should we think about using it to be a better marketer, to like actually create better stuff, which hopefully means a lot of work, but also you're going to be more powerful because now you've got this AI engine behind you.
An interesting question. I mean, okay, you mean efficiency in the sense of not writing blog posts. I was going to say efficiency, I think is a big one. Like you can start coming up, like I just started messing around with N8N and starting to map out, hey, if I didn't want to do these manual things, when I record with, for my podcast and I like have the first intro call. I just want those notes to just be transcribed, and then it just creates an outline for me versus me having to go think about it and then email them. So I'm actually working on a way to it just does all that. I just press one more click and it emails the person that I already spoke to and says, "Hey, thanks for grabbing time with me," or "Thanks for the intro call. Let's set up a follow up," and all of that. So like simple use cases like that, I think teach you a lot, because then in the future you can build something way more sophisticated. So this is me just tinkering. So on the efficiency side, it's just like it's basically creating many workflows for yourself. Like I don't think it's by any chance like anything super dynamic or crazy. Like I don't think it's an agent. It's like a simple workflow, but like it's a starting point, right? It's if these things can just be done for you, you're basically just prompting ChatGPT, but you're doing it in a way that requires less work versus you every time coming in, which was like something I realized I need to start doing.
Yeah.
So that's one base layer.
And
But I think to me, the most, yeah, yeah.
to add in there, like I think a lot of agents really are just workflows. So we've built workflows in the past. A lot of times it's just, and they're just more powerful. There's like just more power behind the workflows. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like workflows that can think for themselves a little, but like,
yeah,
you know, I haven't found that marketing use case to be like, hey, I need a true agent. I'm like, I don't know. And I think a lot of the agentic, whatever technology that marketers use, I'm no like expert in terms of this stuff, but it's just going to be invisible, right? Just like Lovable. There are agents running in the background, but who cares? To me, all I care is that people care. Sorry. But in terms of the end user that's using it, it doesn't really matter that much. All that matters is, okay, I prompted this and now there's a bunch of different agents talking to each other to come up with the answer to my problems instead of me having to troubleshoot it every step like I used to when I was using Lovable a month ago or whatever. But speaking of Lovable, I honestly think those kinds of areas where you can create more interactive value for your consumers is like the coolest thing that I see. Sidecar products, right? Novatic having their own interactive demo analyzer and creator as like the new lead magnet for themselves, right? It's like, hey, just try out this product in a very weird, like kind of sidecar way. And that should get you to enough value to want to go buy the product. And I think those are so cool. I'm trying to think of more examples. Some people did this with the LinkedIn reviews and stuff, like a year in reviews. Oh, cool. So now I can use your product to do a LinkedIn review of everything that happened this year. What else can I do? Should I be using your product for my own post generators or whatever? Like, I think those kinds of ways of using AI to like tease out your product's value and get people to an aha moment faster will replace what content looks like today, right? That's what we're trying to do with content. We're trying to provide utility or it needs to be educated. But like drafting blog posts and like creating more AI based content, I don't think is going to be the answer. That blog post should have something that's interesting inside of it. The blog itself will be scaffolding for a video, for a utility based like tool that someone can use to get what they want to do next versus I just have 30 minutes here to just read and pontificate about things. Like I think that will eventually go away. And I think that's where marketers like we have to like adapt and be like, hey, I'm gonna like really lean into this, learn to use tools for like what they're capable of versus like brain rotting and just being like, all right, ChatGPT can now think for me and get rid of blank page syndrome. I think that's something we need to continue doing. And the next version of blank page syndrome won't be, hey, I need to write this blog post. Where do I start? It's going to be, I need to create this workflow. Where do I start? Like it's already happening, right? That is the harder process. And it's like mapping that kind of stuff out takes more thinking and more logic, which is exciting and also like nerve wracking, right? Like I'm no expert. I'm still learning this stuff, but that's a realization I'm coming to. If I have to prompt something and just every time, every day I'm going like, all right, AI, help me draft this email for this podcast guest. And it's the same thing 10 times. I just lost 10 minutes that like, if I use AI to do this, I would not only save myself some time, but I would learn how to do something that I can now reuse. And they're all building blocks that eventually come together.
yeah. The blank page thing. I think there's a link to post this week about like not being able to think at all after using too much AI.
That's what I was thinking about.
Dave
Gerhard,
Gerhard's.
something. It was funny. And that's what I was thinking about. I'm like, oh man, that's too real.
Yeah, sometimes, but sometimes good prompting takes a lot of work. I find that's one of the things in the AI space that's in the conversation that I see is especially on late is just the simplification of it when in all reality, if you're going to use it to do much better work than you were doing before, I find it to be a lot of work to get to where I want to go. Like I've got it running and helping me optimize Google Ads, but like I know Google Ads and I know what I'm trying to do. And so I have the data coming in because AI is really great and it looking at way more data and then prompting and asking questions that are like strategic. And it's actually a lot of work again to do daily like optimizations to try to get to download requests at a certain cost stuff. So like in all of this, like building workflows and using it for all of this, I don't want to minimize the fact that it's like if you're using it to do better work, I think it's a lot of work
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel
personally,
like
unless I'm just doing it wrong, and I might just be doing it wrong.
it just takes time, right? You can pass that or take the cheat code of finding a tool that already exists and someone prompted to death, right? Or if I need to do stuff there, I might hit you up and say, hey, can I use the GPT you built? I think that's what's interesting. Like they're building blocks.
Yeah,
They all take you somewhere and you need to learn the lessons to like then build the next thing that you want to solve. And that's a really cool use case. And I think that's what's interesting too. Like at least for me, it's sometimes it's no longer about can technology do this for you? It's about finding the process and use case to begin with, right?
yeah.
And it's this next level of meta awareness of it's. I always joke about this, but it'd be like really nice to just have someone watching, not someone watching. That's so weird. Having a third person view of everything I do within a day, so I could be like, oh, that's probably where I should use AI and start coming up with use cases that would make my life easier. Because sometimes you just miss it, right? And you're like 2 months goes by and you're like, oh, aha moments. I'm doing this. Like, why should I be doing this manually? There's tools to solve this. Identifying the workflow, I think, is like the next level. Uh, yeah.
Is there a workflow or agent or something that you're using now that other marketers should be using?
No, I
Yeah.
can't really think of anything that's that great. Like I said, the podcast one is like the easiest fix for me.
And are you using N8N for that?
Yeah, yeah. I messed around with N8N and I got it to work. I feel like I do have a good example I can't think of right now.
Because what I do is I take my notes in call or sometimes I'll record the call and then I pop that into chat GPT and ask it to work with me on making a agenda. Normally I say, here are the 3 topics that I really want to cover, like maybe craft them a little bit. I try to still use my mind for it.
Nice. I use Granola. I have it prompt. Like I have Granola take the notes. So then it's all
Mhm.
there's a transcript and there's also like AI generated notes. I'll have those go pipe into ChatGPT as a prompt. It's just like a pretty basic prompt. You're a podcast producer. Here's my audience. Here's what I'm trying to do, some context, and then give me an outline and an email that I can send. And then it like gets me to the next step. What I want to do is get it so there's like a button I just press in terms of the final send as well, which I didn't fully automate yet. Like to me, those are like the simple ones.
Yeah.
I think I'm just getting started and I would love to spend more time on this stuff.
Yeah.
But a lot of the things I've been thinking about are like slightly, I don't know, I guess theory based. I think the most interesting like call to action I could give people is just to mess around more and lovable. It might sound obvious, but I think like going back to what I was saying, like more marketers need to be doing more product stuff. So lovable is a great place to start and
Yeah.
start building that front end muscle, that back end muscle. So yeah, nothing, I don't know. It'll come to me later and I'll email you, but
So I think that workflow that you just described, Granola taking sales notes or taking meeting notes, crafting it into an email and a follow up, like I could see marketing teams building that for their sales reps because have it go prompted as great follow up and send it and immediately send follow up to the prospect. And you get that follow up email out in 5 minutes. And there's probably somebody out there doing it, I would imagine. I don't think I'm that novel, but now that I'm thinking about it, probably use agent.ai for it. HubSpots as well. Yeah, that would be a good one.
crazy, right? As you're describing it, first we nailed down the process. Then we started talking about there's 100 different tools to make it happen.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the only like good prompts, I have some few good prompts, and most of them are actually about using Lovable properly because there's just so many rabbit holes you can go down. And I think
Mhm.
I've like gotten to a good place. But that prompt is solely based on you really mapping out and understanding the components of what you're trying to build and literally the user flow and interactions. Like, this is what I want the user to do as they open up, and here's what they do after. Yeah, so it's pretty in the weeds. I don't think I have a very general universal one.
Yeah, and you have to be super specific with AI prompting. Like, the best prompt that I've had is I at the end of every message initial prompt I send, I'm pulling it up right now. I add ask me clarifying questions to better understand my needs, one question at a time. Keep going until you're confident you have enough to give a complete answer. And I got that from he was the CMO at Zapier, Kieran, I think is his name, on LinkedIn. He posted like, "Hey, put this at the end of prompts." I started doing that, and my results because it just asks questions to clarify, and it's I've gotten way better results that way.
So now it doesn't say, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
mine
and it
stopped
doesn't
doing
just
that.
agree with you.
I don't know what had happened, but mine stopped doing that. It's great.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Good, Sid. Where else would you like the audience connect with you, or what else would you like to leave the audience with today?
Yeah, of course, I'm on LinkedIn. You could find me, Sid space Khaitan. I love to talk about, of course, product marketing, but also now that I'm building an early stage startup, that is my new bag. What I talk about often, I'm building what's called Million Meetups. It's a app for South Asian families and friends to connect better. As I'm doing that and learning from all the things, I'm also running an event series to as like part of the go to market for that. Mostly like boutique events in the Chicago land area. Would love for you to attend. Just find me on LinkedIn and let's chat. But aside from that, yeah, I guess LinkedIn's the best place to start. And I guess if I learned anything from this conversation today, it was just get started. Like with video or with the AI and stuff, like I've definitely felt that feeling of, whoa, where do I even begin? And this is overwhelming. But if you start today, if you go into an NAN and like just get interested and find the first two nodes of your workflow or mess around a bit or just literally write down your flow that would be like so cool for you and then plug it in and get some advice from ChatGPT or others. I just think it's such a gratifying feeling. Like it's not that instant gratification, but it's even better. Like once that thing starts going live and it's humming, like there's no better feeling. And it's the same aha moment as like the first time you prompted ChatGPT and you got something that was of use and you're like, whoa, this is amazing. Like even though I say people, process, and technology, like technology is awesome. Like I'm not a Luddite. And I think if you like find ways to use it to your advantage, it's such a, yeah, it's such a gratifying feeling as a human. It's just, wow, I can use this for good. I can use this to make my life easier so that I can go focus on things I want to do. Right. I think we're in a place where, of course, you have to work, put food on the table. But as AI starts to get better and better, it's not going to be, oh, it's going to replace my job and I'm screwed. There might be a phase like that. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but hopefully my optimist in me thinks that it can save us time so that we have more time back. And if we have more time back, that means making sure that our identities are not only tied to our jobs, that we're doing other tinkering on the sides and we're like enjoying that mad scientist and curiosity mindset. So there's my spiel for the day, but I don't know. You got it out of me, Logan. Just got me thinking about all the, yeah, really all the implications that come with what we talked about.
Yeah, that's the point is to go deep into conversations and I love that. Doing side hustles, thinking about a process you want to automate, thinking process. Yeah, we can just leave it at that. I really enjoyed the conversation, Sid. You have to come back on it down to after you built the app and you can tell us how we can use AI to build apps. And we'll talk marketing. We'll just be talking about nerding out on building AI stuff, which is always a lot of fun.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, everybody.